And next up, it's Gabriella Schittek from ICANN talking about new GTLDs.
Okay. Oh. Okay, good. Hello, everybody. My name is Gabriella Schittek. I'm working for ICANN, and this is my first NOG meeting ever. So I'm very honored to be here. I'm not technical at all. I just wanted to say that. So I still hope you will find my mostly non-technical presentation interesting. I would like to start with asking you, how many of you actually know have you heard of ICANN? So most of you have heard of ICANN. How many of you actually know what we're doing? Somewhat less. So let me start by introducing who we are, what we're doing, so we're all on the same page. So ICANN stands for Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. And we have many functions, but these three are more like, this is at the heart of what we're doing. They're protocol parameters, the names, and the numbers. So the protocol parameters, this is, you will know that everything on the internet is run on protocols. We are not developing these protocols. This is done by IETF, which I'm sure you're familiar with. However, we keep these protocols in a kind of library. So if you look up a protocol, what to do, you will probably end up in our library. So this is one of our functions. Now we have the naming function and we have the numbering function. So the numbering function is, as you know, everything that's connected to the internet needs its own IP number. Your phone, your laptop. Well, ICANN has the worldwide pool of all IP numbers. All numbers come from us. But we do distribute them to 5 regional organizations. One of them for Europe is RIPE NCC, which you probably have heard of. So RIPE NCC ensures that these numbers trickle down to your country and that you actually end up with your IP number on your phone or laptop and so on. So that's the numbering function. And then the function that we may be most famous for is the names function. You will also know that all technical devices, they actually communicate with each other through numbers. They don't understand letters. However, humans tend to not be able to memorize numbers that well. So there's a system called the DNS, the domain name system, which ICANN is coordinating. And this is what I'm going to talk about you today. The names and the numbers are called the unique identifiers. And like really everything we do at ICANN is policy around these functions. So the way the policies are done is by the multi-stakeholder model. So we will have a place for everyone interested in becoming involved. We will find a place for them. So we have the technical community heavily involved. We have businesses involved. Civil society, academia, we have governments involved as well, but I have to underline the governments are not more important than anyone else. It's just one player of all the technical, of the multi-stakeholder community. And even if, let's say, Pekka from your local shop one day just realized like, oh, I'm really interested in these things, we will find a way for him too. We have end users too. So everyone who wants to be involved in our policy making can be. Today I'm here to speak about about domain names really. So this is a typical domain name, and if we look at the domain name, what's at the end is called a top-level domain. And when we speak about domain names, we have to always differentiate between country code top-level domains and generic top-level domains. The country code top-level domains are always 2 letters. So even if it looks like .tv, for instance, here looks cool, but it's Tuvalu. So everything that has 2 letters is always a country code. .fi for Finland, for instance. And then everything that has more than 2 letters is a generic top-level domain. So what ICANN is doing here is we have access to the so-called root zone. So we can insert endings there, and we can take out endings there. For country codes, we're following something called the ISO 31661 list. It was developed for the Postal Union, actually. So what's in there goes to the country. If there's a country code up there or a territory up there, it's also on the internet. So we're really strictly following that because we don't want to be the ones to define what's a country or not. I can give you an example. For instance, .ps Palestine is in there. Not all countries have recognized Palestine. Kosovo, though, is not in there because it's not on the ISO 3166-1 list. So we're following this list. So what's on the list, it's there. What's not on the list, we take out. So an example would be Yugoslavia.yu. When it fell apart, we took out .yu from the root zone, and instead we inserted .hr for Croatia, .rs for Serbia, and so on. Now these are the country codes. But then we have the generic top-level domains, and there's a big difference between the two of them. The country codes, we don't have any contractual relationship with, because they're following the legislation of their own country. Whilst with the generic ones, we have a contract with them, and we can impose policies and standards on the generic one. And this is just very important for you to keep in the back of your head. And today we are going to speak about the generic top-level domains. So in 2012, there were in total 22 generic top-level domains. You probably know .com, .org, .info perhaps. There were more. There were like .museum, which you probably never heard of because it wasn't very popular, but there were 22 in total. But in 2012, the multi-stakeholder community that I spoke about earlier decided we should open up the endings. We should give a chance for others to have their endings too. So there was an application period in 2012, and we received almost 2,000 applications. And since we added over 1,200 new GTLDs to the root zone. And I'll give you some examples. There were different categories. One category was internationalized domain names, IDNs, brands, community, geographic, and generic. And I'll give you some examples of each. So for internationalized domain names, we actually allowed different scripts than the Latin script to have their own top-level domain. In total, we introduced 12 different scripts. You can see these are just some examples, like online and Cyrillic, Google, and I don't even know what script that is, but we have 12 different scripts in total. Then we have the brand category. So different brands applied for their ending, like .gucci, .google, .lidl, and so on. Then we have, this is the smallest category we have, the community TLDs. I just wanted to let you know that I have put Islam here, but it's actually not in the root zone because if you wanted to have a community TLD, you had to have the support of your community behind you. And the applicants for .islam could not prove this, so it was never approved. But for instance, the applicants of .catholic were the Vatican, so we recognized them to have the approval of the Catholic community. So they actually applied for .catholic in 4 scripts. So the Vatican has .catholic in 4 different scripts. Then we have the geographical one. They often, very often cities like .Berlin. Berlin is actually quite a successful one. Or it could also be a region like .Tirol, for instance. These are all just examples. These are not like the full list. These were just examples that I pulled out. And then we have the biggest group of all, the generic one. And here you could really go bananas and invent whatever ending you like to have. So that you can find .tennis, .coffee, .sax, which apparently is very popular with American politicians. This is the absolutely biggest group of all the applications that we received. So why am I talking about what we did in 2012? Well, because we're going to open it up again next year. And I'm starting with a slide which you've already seen. This is about the multi-stakeholder community, just to remind you that it's not ICANN that does the policies or decides whether we're going to do something or not. It's the multi-stakeholder community. ICANN is just really the secretariat of the multi-stakeholder community. We're holding the pen. We're making sure that whatever they want to do is getting done. But it actually comes from the multi-stakeholder community. So why did we decide to open it up again? Because I bet that you haven't seen most of these 1,200s that are in the root zone. Not all of them were successful. But so why do we do this again? First of all, it's actually incorporated into ICANN's founding documents that we have to increase choice and competition. For instance, I've learned that under .com, there are no options to have a two-letter domain or three-letter domain or four-letter domain. So I've heard that companies that really want to have a .com domain name, they invent crazy names like Blue Flying Cow or whatever for their company, just to have this magical .com domain name. But this is not really what we want. We want to have, we want to increase the choice and competition. Then we also, as you saw, we had this IDN, the internationalized domain names. So we want to remove existing limitations to Latin script GTLDs, because if you look at it, actually most of the world does not use the Latin script as their first script. So imagine you're a farmer in the rural parts of China, and you really want to go online, but you have no clue how to write something .com even. Then you're actually in a bad situation. So we really want to reach out to the remaining 2 billion or whatever that are still not online. We just want to make it easier for them. So this is why we want to give them even further options to get online or to use it. We also wanted to give the brands a chance to build trust and awareness. If we take .Gucci as an example, let's say that I really like to have a Gucci bag. If I go to nicebags.com and buy a Gucci bag there, I don't know if what I'm getting will be real. But if I go to nicebags.gucci, I can be pretty sure that what they will send me will be an original bag. So that's building trust and awareness of the brand. Then also we want to, as I showed you, that we had this community TLDs like .Catholic. We also want to serve these communities. We want to serve cultures and geographic regions, and just give basically all kind of communities and also organizations a possibility to create their own space online. So these are really the reason for why we're once again opening up for new GTLDs. But again, this is decided by the multi-stakeholder community. So I was trying to be creative. So I came up with some suggestions for you. Perhaps this sounds good for you. .Sona, .Nesta, .Rovaniemi. You can have .Leipäjuusto with the if you like, because it's possible. So this was just me being, sorry.
So you had the example of the Gucci top-level domain. So what if in the next phase somebody tries to reserve a different script top-level domain that looks like Gucci, but is a different top-level?
Yeah, this is something we call name collision. We are looking into that. We have measures to address that. So yeah, this is a common problem. One, if you don't know what name collisions are, what I can also, a good example I can give to you is, for instance, the top level domain for Paraguay is PY, but in Cyrillic it's RU, so it would be Russia, and if you like to, so it looks identical, so we would not allow this to happen, basically. So yeah, this is just some inspiration for you. Perhaps you want to apply for your own next, like an own GTLD, but it's actually quite serious business. So if you actually apply to become a registry, that means you will actually operate a piece of the internet. You will actually have the deciding power about everything what you're doing under your GTLD. Of course, we have a contract with you, so we will not let you go totally bananas, and we want it to be safe and secure. But really, you set your own policies of how to use your top-level domains. And you can also, for instance, determine what requirements there should be to apply for your top-level domain. And for instance, if you want to have a second level, so maybe you want to have .com.gucci, it's up to you, or .com.sona, it's up to you. So you actually become a part of, you're operating a part of the internet. And there are financial and technical considerations. just to apply for a top-level domain cost $227,000. Now, bear in mind that ICANN is not for profit, so this is actually on a cost recovery basis because we have to invest in servers, staff, etc. as well. So we have a big cost as well, and this is why the price is high. I mean, it depends on who's looking at it. I think for Gucci, it's not high because Gucci probably pays more for one billboard than 227,000. But yes, of course, it's generally quite high. And there are more costs coming. I mean, because it's actually cost to run it. You have to show that you are technically able to do it. You have to invest in servers and so on and so on. So you have to demonstrate that you're actually capable, and not only technically but also financially, to keep your top-level domain stable. So what your responsibilities would be. You need to maintain a master database of all domain names that are registered under your top-level domain. You have to generate a zone file that allows computers to route internet traffic to and from top-level domains. You will manage all the requirements that we have in our agreement with you. I don't know the details actually, but it's online. You have to convert domain names into IP addresses to enable routing, and basically operate all the technical aspects to keep this TLD safe and secure. This is the timeline, and the most important bit here is really the pink part. This is when the application period opens, and right now we haven't set a real date yet, but it looks like end of April next year, 2026, so probably the last week of April. And it will be open for 12 to 15 weeks. So it's like just an application window. So that's important to know. Then if you look at the orange line here, this is something I haven't mentioned, but you know, not everyone who will apply for a top-level domain actually knows how to do it technically. So what they're doing then is they appoint a registry service provider, an RSP. They will do it for them. This is actually the most common model, that you actually just use a company that know what they're doing. There were 2 application periods for the RSP. One closed in May, but it will reopen again if someone's late and think, yeah, I want to be an RSP. They still have a chance to apply when the actual application period is open. And then we have the blue line, the ASP. This is something that I haven't mentioned either. This is the applicant support program. So you saw the cost, $227,000. That's a lot, we know. At the same time, we want to attract small businesses, micro businesses, NGOs, communities, and so on, that often don't have this money. So we have something called the ASP, and Applicant Support Program, where we actually give them really big discounts. I think it's up to 80%. And also, not only financially we help them, we will help them actually to find mentors to tell them how to do, so they don't have to invest in the know-how. So this is really to help groups, actually indigenous people, for instance. We reached out to the Sami people, for instance, to suggest maybe you're interested. So this is what the applicant support program is for, and it's closing on the 19th of November, which is soon, but we have actually extended it in a bit. So to the 19th of November, if you're interested, you have to declare that you're interested. Then you have another month to actually submit all the paperwork. So it's been extended in a way, in a little bit. Okay, and since this is a technical group, and I'm not technical, I asked my technical colleague, can you make me a slide with technical stuff that actually is interesting for you? So he sent me this, and I don't understand everything, so I'm sorry, I'll try to go through it with you, but you will know more than I what he's talking about. But anyway, one thing I do understand is that because we will reveal, one day that we will reveal all the applicants we received. So last time we had nearly 2,000, so that's a lot. We don't know how many we're expecting now. But we will reveal them one day. And this is the first opportunity for network operators to check whether your configuration for potential name collisions, which we spoke about earlier. There will be a temporary delegation where we will actually put them into the root zone, the applied for strings, on a temporary basis, just to see if there is any name collisions. This is kind of addressing what you asked before. And also, you can also give feedback if you see something. The next sentences I don't understand. Just have a look. It's something about controlled interruption, wildcard DNS, and you should look for this number, and your DNS needs immediate attention, and ICANN.org name collision. So in your logs, please note that. I'm not really sure what he's talking about, but this has to do with name collision, what you were asking about. So, but once this controlled interruption is completed, they will then be removed from the root zone, and only when they have been accepted, they will be introduced again. So once they have signed the registry agreement and done all the technical testing, they will be added to the root zone. And ICANN will make sure that the root zone will not grow to more than 5% each month, because we don't want people to be overwhelmed, basically. Oh, this is just to summarize quickly how you apply if this inspired you. So first of all, either you do it yourself, or either you secure a technical partner, an RSP. The application is actually done online through a system we call the TAMS, the TLD Application Management System. And then you have to pay the evaluation fee. And as I mentioned, the application window is expected to last 12 to 15 weeks. This was, if you're really interested in this, there are some links here. One link I really like to highlight before I'm leaving you, is if you happen to be interested in ICANN, want to know more and so on, I'm responsible for the Nordic region, and I'm running an email list for the Nordic community. It's not very email heavy because I'm really filtering the information, but I'm trying to email, I'm sending out the most important ICANN news. For instance, about the new GTLT program, I will send out what's happening now and so on. It's, as I said, it's not very email heavy, but if you are interested in being added to that email list, you can always unsubscribe if it's not helpful, but please let me know. Yeah, and this is my email address. And this was my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so there's at least one question.
Thank you. Very interesting presentation. I really enjoyed it and liked it. So let's say that there's, under what end control is it, kind of like what law do you in the end follow? And let's say that there's two conflicting court decisions from different countries, let's say regarding some GLTD and so on. How do you go about this?
I'm sorry, are we talking, can you, the beginning, I didn't hear the beginning.
Yeah, what is the end law that you follow, which country, which location dictates how you will in the end operate, and let's say that there's two conflicting court decisions, how do you go about this?
So it depends on the ending. If it's a generic ending, which we were talking about today, we're working with WIPO. They have this World Intellectual Property, this domain name resolution system. So they are helping us when domain name conflicts. But do you mean for an ending, or do you mean for the domain name, like a
for new GTLDs?
For a new GTLD. No. So what happened last round is that if we had, for instance, two applicants for the same name, which happened. I mean, this is generic, so there's no court ruling about that. But what we did was we put it under an auction. We should put it to an auction. So first of all, what we said is, I can give you an example. For instance, there was a Czech company. They applied for unicorn, and there was a Chinese company. They applied for .unicom. And to us, it was too similar. And we said, okay, you have to decide. One of you can go further, one of you will not, or you have to, go to an auction. And it ended up that the Czech ones said, okay, we're not going to have it. So sometimes we manage to make them talk to each other without conflicts, but there have been some issues, yes. Yeah.
Before your question, I want to ask one question, because you said that for country domains and for the generic top-level domain names, they have full control of what happens in there. But I've understood that you can't put Olympics dot whatever Olympics is a protected name that would apply to all countries and all these top levels as well. Have I been misinformed, or are there still some controls?
So the question is whether you can. Sorry, I'm sorry again. That whether you can add
Olympics.
Olympics.
Yeah.
The name Olympics. I'm not sure. I think it depends on the applicant. For instance, if the Olympic Committee.
I mean, Olympics.Gucci, for example.
With Gucci. That depends on Gucci. That if Olympics allows that, and if Gucci allows that, and let's say the Olympic Committee doesn't like it, then they can contact Gucci and say, like, we need to discuss, and they might go to WIPO, for instance, and resolve it there. But so because we force everyone that has a generic top-level domain to use WIPO's service to resolve these kind of issues. And we have actually, this is a different presentation, but we have a whole new set of brand protection mechanisms that we introduced with the last round, which probably will just continue with the next round. So there are many actually ways, but the most common way would be WIPO. So, but there are some brand protection mechanisms. There's also, yeah, let's not go down that road, but yeah, there are some protection mechanisms in place.
Okay, so basically you go by what WIPO decides.
Yeah.
Like, let's say there's a trademark for a name in one country and the same trademark in another country.
Yeah.
And so the
Oh,
WIPO.
okay. Well, do you mean for the top-level domain now?
No, I mean for
the
GLTD. Like,
yes.
let's say Apple in one country and Apple in another country.
I know, but you're talking about the top-level domain .apple then. Let's say .apple, right? No, then there's actually, no, it's not WIPO in this case. This is actually that we will try to make them talk together first, and in the worst case, we'll put them to an auction like we did last time. And I just want to say, we got a lot of money from the auctions in the last round, but we're not for profit. So we had a nice problem. We had too much money. We didn't know what to do with it. And we... So basically, we asked the multi-stakeholder community, hey, we got that like $200 million here. What shall we do with it? And they came up with a program. Actually, we just started now that we actually give it back to the community for. You can apply for different projects, and so this is what it's going to. So yes, we received money, but we actually given it back.
One question about the revocation process. You said about the countries, that you are, for example, removing certain countries. I suppose io.io is quite popular and now possibly on the list of revocation. How does the process go, and what kind of timelines you have that you, for example, announce that this will be removed, and when you actually enforce that it actually disappears?
So .io is indeed, you might have heard IO was kind of moved back to, was it Madagascar country? Yeah, what country was it? I can't remember the country now, but it used to be a British territory. So indeed it is, we actually don't really know what's the status is, because it's up to the new country to decide. So everything that happens under a country code, we ask them to resolve it, because we are doing service for them. We're putting it in the root zone, but everything that happens under there is not our business. We have several countries where the government wants to have it. I can give you a good example. Namibia, for instance, .na is run by a German gynecologist. Why? Yeah, because in the 80s, 90s, when everything was still done by hand, like all the guys that invented the internet were like doing everything by hand, and someone said, "Oh, let me run .namibia or .na." They were thrilled, like, "Oh yeah, great! You take away some work from me. Here you are, Namibia." This is how unprofessionally this was done and had delegated in the early days. I'm talking about the country codes now. So this is how a German gynecologist ended up running .na. I can tell you the Namibian government is not happy about that, but according to Namibian, they tell us, can you please, we want to have .na, and we say, yeah, but we don't have the power to go in and do this. You need to resolve it within the country and tell us who we should delegate it to. And according to Namibian law, they cannot destroy someone's business, like basically. So it's a weird situation. But but we cannot do it because it's not our thing to go into a country and decide. It's not our thing. So .io is basically that depending on what they decide to do with it, we will do. But they are the ones to decide locally. There is a process, it's called a sunset and grandfathering process. I don't really remember, I think it's 3 years, that you have like 3 years to stop registrations, because you don't want someone get out of business all of a sudden. We still want it, they have time to find another top level domain and get used to it, so on. So I think it's about 3 years. Then we just asked them, please stop registering domain names. Please help them find another provider and so on. So this is the process. We have a process in place for that. Yeah.
So this guy here is Kauto Huopio, and he works for the Finnish domain registrar, and he.
I am not working for the registrar.
Well, in the company
Okay.
that runs, but
company.
yeah,
It's not a company.
well, in the department. Happy now? Agency. He doesn't know. I don't know where he works.
Okay.
Anyway, he brought up the point that Great Britain and Russia both have 2 CCTLDs.
Yeah.
Do you know the future of those?
You're talking about .su probably,
And
Soviet
GB.
Union. Yeah. So about Soviet Union. This has to do with the grandfathering and sunrising people. So to give you an example, with Yugoslavia.yu, we told them, this is the process, please stop registering and so on. With SU, we told them the process, please stop registering and so on. What they did was the opposite. They actually promoted the domain name even more. So they had more and more and more registrations. And the thing is, we didn't want to shut people down, because we still want to have a stable internet. So we negotiated with them. We've been negotiating with them for 30 years, so I don't know. But actually, now I can tell you we have an end date, apparently by 2030, I've heard. They are dead. Really, we had enough. So, so it's apparently gone. But it was really because they were not cooperating. So that's a problem. .gb, it exists, but it's not. We don't register domain names there because they have .uk basically. So there are a few more examples, I think, like Svalbard and Jan Mayen, which is run by Norway, but they don't register anything under that. It's there because it's in the ISO list, so we have put it there, but it's not active. So there are a few exceptions.
So the .gb is not going away because it's the official ISO standard, but UK is staying because it's grandfathered in.
As long it wasn't grandfathered because it was never active.
UK is grandfathered.
UK will stay, yes, but GB was never used, so it would just stay. Yeah.
Any other questions? There's one.
Hi, Alexi from DNA. I would like to know that what sort of security stuff ICANN is doing with the names, because of course we are seeing a lot of scams and all sorts of things happening around the names specifically. You mentioned now the unicorn versus unicom, but I'm maybe looking into more certificates, for example.
Well, we are a huge promoter of DNSSEC. I'm sorry, my colleague Ulrich is actually in Helsinki today, but he's in a different conference, and I wish he was here because he could give you a really, really good answer to this. We force all of the top-level domain operators to use, the generic ones, to use DNSSEC. They have to use DNSSEC. There are some other standards that we can force upon them, but I'm sorry, I cannot tell you because I'm not technical. So, but DNSSEC is our big thing, and I can promote ourselves a little bit here that because we are not for profit, right? So we do everything we do for free, and we do give, for instance, free DNSSEC training. So if anyone should be interested, we're actually giving one in Finland in Helsinki on the 10th of February, 1-day training, but we sometimes give more days. Just saying, if you're interested in anything like that, it's not only DNSSEC, we have different kind of trainings. We do it for free. Just contact me, let me know.
Thank you.
So I understand you have a flight to catch quite soon.
Yeah, soon.
But so we've got a coffee break now.
Yeah.
So you can, if you still have questions, you can still catch her at least during the coffee break.
Yeah.
But then sometime during next session, I guess you'll have to leave.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
So give a big hand to Gabriella.